Okay, I will start. As I said yesterday, I'm often asked what is the secret of success of the Hebrew University? How is it that our organization is able to come up with solutions to problems that organizations far richer and more endowed than us cannot? And I point to two sources. One of them is our students, and the others are sitting right in front of us, our friends and benefactors. Now I'm looking at Natalie, and she's telling me to stick to the script, and so I shall. So, on this beautiful June morning at this wonderful and historic location, we welcome everyone from home and abroad to the ceremony to dedicate the inscriptions on the wall of life, and to honor, celebrate, and remember the names of some extraordinary friends of the Hebrew University. I'd like to introduce the members of the head table. To my left, Professor Menachem Ben-Sasson, President of the Hebrew University. To his left, Mr. Mickey Federman, Chairman of the Board of Governors of the Hebrew University. To his left, Professor Asher Cohen, our Rector. To his left, Professor Ronnie Cohen, Vice President. Ronnie Friedman. Okay. You can see how close-knit the university management is. Okay. Vice President for External Relations, Professor Ronnie Friedman, and to his left, Vice President and Director General Billy Shapira. My name is Shai Arkin, and now I have the great pleasure to invite University President Menachem Ben-Sasson to the lectern. Menachem, please.
You can count ceremonies, you can count recipients of honor, recognizing each of them, but it's countless what we are going to do today's morning. You ask yourselves many times, how do you make a group that is committed to an idea? And if you remember, this question was put already as a theme on Friday evening when we met first. And I said at that time that it takes time, people, and several activities. One would call it ceremonies, one would refer to it as symbolic ideas. In order to understand the symbol, first the symbol has to say something. And then, in order to decipher it, you have to understand it. And understanding the symbol creates the dialogue between the one who has the symbol and the symbol itself. And from then on, always you add another layer of identification, of consciousness, of feeling towards the idea that the symbol resembles. It's not very complicated, but I would like to repeat on it. The dialogue between ourselves and the symbols around our life, that we get the brand or the symbol, we know what's behind, and then we add to it layers and layers of identification, feeling, consciousness, and much more that I'm going to work on now. The pin of the Hebrew University consists of two Hebrew letters. The first letter of the alphabet is Aleph. Aleph is this. In order to say Hebrew, you say Ivrit. There was a contest in the late 50s around Israel's artists, and others could participate also. And the winner put this one as our symbol. The torch is the torch of learning. So what you've got here is Hebrew University. But in Hebrew it is Universita Ivrit. We changed a little bit this combination, as you saw on all of our publications. The colors were changed, it's more updated, but the message is the same. So whenever you look and you see this combination of the two letters, the first and the one represents the Hebrew language, you know what's behind. And this year, in order to recognize you, and yes, oil lamps tend to run out of if it goes to the first and second centuries, we gave an artist the opportunity to give a new meaning, a new symbol, but at the same time to keep the tradition. So you are going to have the Aleph and the Ayin, the Hebrew University. But keep it in mind, maybe in 10 years from now, we'll even adopt this one. By now, we'll go ahead with the old ones. And what is the addition, the added value that each of you adds to this combination of the two letters? It is a commitment of an individual to an idea, and each and every one from the recipients today has got a goal at the university. We do not have many nowadays who give to an idea, a vague idea. Each of you is invested. Some of you have already 5 doctorate students who work on their doctorate. Some of you have a machine, a tool. Some of you have a center that you build. Some build a project that started, or you found a project that started and you want to continue with. The connection is not only with the vague idea in the Aleph and the Ayin, you already loaded it with your personal attitude, project, and mutual relations to the current days of the Hebrew University. You will hear what is the secret of each of the projects, what is the secret and the goal of each of you. But as a group, I would like to thank you for what you have been doing and what you are going to do. And this dialogue between yourselves and university is beyond just symbol. It's a work of day and night, year and another year, and from our side it's not enough that we thank you. We promise that we keep the ideas that brought you to the university ahead, far beyond, for many, many years. This is the mutual relations that we maintain. You would like to be involved. You are giving and directing. We are in charge of taking ideas, developing them, and at the same time contributing to the world of science, to the world as a whole. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Ben-Sasson, for those inspiring words. The ceremony will proceed as follows. Each honoree or the honoree's representative will be invited to stand by President Ben-Sasson. After the reading of the dedicatory summary, as a mark of appreciation, Professor Ben-Sasson will present a unique candle holder designed especially for this ceremony by the eminent Jerusalem craftsman Yossi Sagi. Finally, a photo of the honoree and the president will be taken. I think we're all clear. I now invite Mr. Moody Benaya, head of the Human Resources of Adama Agricultural Solutions, to join President Menachem Ben-Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of Adama Agricultural Solutions. On his way. Okay, well. Adama Agricultural Solutions Ltd. is the leading off-patent crop protection solution company in the world. The company's range of high-quality and effective herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides help farmers worldwide to increase yields. With one of the world's most extensive off-patent product portfolio, Adama sells its products in more than 120 countries with 2014 revenues of over $3.2 billion. Adama's purpose is creating simplicity in agriculture, striving to provide farmers accessible, easy-to-use solutions that simplify their lives and improve their crop yields. In 2014, the company ranked 7th in the world in the overall crop protection industry, the first among those companies focused on the sale of off-patent products. The company is characterized by its farmer-centric approach to product development and strict standards of environmental protection and quality control. With its reliable and effective solution, Adama is playing a key role in the efforts to increase food production globally to a feeding world. Since its foundation, over 60 years ago, Adama has continuously invested in the community and always strives to act in a socially responsible manner. Within its community relations effort, Adama's goal is to promote education in 3 core areas: chemistry, agriculture, and sustainability. Through constant dialogue with its partners in society, Adama initiates and leads long-term programs that promote excellence in education and provide a response tailored to the needs of each community. Adama invests heavily in improving and expanding its social activities by encouraging its employees to volunteer their time and efforts in support of the community. Okay. I now invite Martin and Susan Edelman to join the President, Menachem Ben Sasson, by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in their names. Dr. Susan and Professor Martin Edelman of the American Friends of the Hebrew University Midwest region are devoted friends of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and of Israel. Proponents of varied Jewish communal and civil causes, the Edelmans are proactive in support of higher education and interested in promoting the highest level of scholarship. Professor Martin Edelman was born in Detroit and received his BA, MS, and JD from the University of Michigan. He is the Theodore and James Pettis Family Professor of Intellectual Property and Technology Law at the George Washington University Law School. For 25 years, he was professor at Wayne State University Law School, prior to which he practiced as a patent attorney in the Detroit area. In addition to teaching international and comparative patent law, intellectual property, and antitrust law, Professor Edelman regularly teaches patent law courses at Bar-Ilan University Law School, the Hebrew University Law School, and at the Munich Intellectual Property Law Center. Dr. Susan Edelman was born in Rochester, New York, and attended the University of Michigan. She graduated from Wayne State School of Medicine and practiced pediatric surgery for almost 30 years. Dr. Edelman was the first female president of Wayne County Medical Society, also of the Michigan State Medical Society, and was honored with election to the American Medical Board of Trustees. She edited the Detroit Medical News for 17 years and authored a monthly column in the AMN News for a decade. An accomplished artist, she later became a silversmith. Dr. Edelman speaks 5 languages, including Arabic. Her practice is in Dearborn, Michigan, home to the largest Lebanese community in the U.S. Since retirement, Dr. Edelman also has been studying Hebrew intensively. I now invite Jaime and Stella Bly to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of Stella Jaime Bly e Familia of Brazil. Jaime Bly is a civil engineer. In his professional career, he has managed several companies and held the position of vice president of Porto Seguro General Insurance Company. Jaime began his community work in the 1950s and was president of the Friends of the Hebrew University of Sao Paulo and of Brazil. He was an active member of the Jewish congregation of the state of Sao Paulo and served as the president of the organization for 3 consecutive terms. He was an active member of the Jewish Federation of the state of Sao Paulo, where he held the presidency for 2 consecutive terms. Jaime also holds the presidency of the Brazilian Friends of the Hebrew University of Sao Paulo. His visits to Israel began in 1962 when he attended the International Congress of Jewish College Students and attended meeting with David Ben-Gurion. Stella Yara Bly started her professional career as a lawyer at Lerma SA, a textile industry where she was president, and was also a senior lawyer at Porto Seguro General Insurance Company. She is currently a managing partner at multiple companies, including the holding company of the family business. She began her community work at Naamatz Brazil in the 1980s, where she was president. Stella is an activist in Keren HaYesod and Lion of Judah's Women Division. Stella was president of the Volunteers and member of the board of CIP for almost 20 years and was awarded the title of honorary member in recognition of her invaluable service to the organization. Both Stella and Jami are benefactors of several projects at the Hebrew University. I now invite John Bauman and Sherry Norris to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription of the Wall of Life in the names of John, Sherry, and Laura Baum of New York. John Bauman and Sherry Norris have an enduring bond with Israel and the Hebrew University. Inspired by their own experience on an American Friends of the Hebrew University mission to Israel, John and Sherry have led several successful insider's view of Israel journeys to introduce Friends to the country as seen through the eyes of leading Hebrew University faculty. Committed to Israel's future, the philanthropic couple have provided generous scholarships for Hebrew University students. John Bauman continues his family's more than 50 years legacy of involvement with the American Friends of the Hebrew University. A member of the National and Northeast Region Boards and the Campaign Committee, John has been an active member of the Real Estate and Financial Services Division since its inception. An attorney and leader in the residential real estate industry, John retired from the Olink organization after more than 20 years to establish his own business. He earned his law degree at Benjamin Caruso University and his business degree at the University of Cincinnati. The admired civic leader has served on the boards of organizations benefiting humanitarian and educational causes. Sherry Norris serves as AFHU's National Board of Regents. Her career as an English teacher and crisis intervention counselor at Grosvenor Cleveland High School in Queens, New York spanned 35 years, during which she earned numerous citywide honors. Sherry received a master's degree in English education from Boston University, a master's degree in school counseling from Long Island University, and a bachelor's degree in English from Queens College. John Bauman and Sherry Norris reside in New York City and have a daughter-in-law, Laura, son-in-law, Avi, and 2-year-old grandson, Isaiah. My name as well. I now invite Professor Leon Mann and Mrs. Leah Mann and Professor Mark Feldman and Professor Shirley Feldman to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription of the Wall of Life in the names of the late Chaim and Malka Brown of Australia. The late Chaim and Malka Brown of Australia of Melbourne grew up in Warsaw. Chaim, who came from an extremely poor family, was forced to leave school at the age of 14 to set up a courier service. Detecting the winds of war, Chaim and Malka were desperate to leave Europe. Chaim immigrated to Australia in 1938, shortly after marrying Malka. She joined him in 1939 in Melbourne, where they settled and started a family. Their house, always filled with friends and visitors, was a warm and welcoming traditional Jewish home, and one in which tradition and memory were ever present. They instilled in their daughters the importance of family, pride in their Jewishness, a love of Israel, and the virtue of tzedakah. Life in Melbourne was initially very difficult, as the Browns had no family in Australia and knew very little English. However, they overcame these problems by becoming active in the Jewish communal activities, particularly Yiddish-speaking and later Zionist organizations. Later, having successfully established their own manufacturing business, Chaim and Malka began a lifelong commitment to Jewish philanthropic causes, with education always being a high priority. They were frequent visitors to Israel and great admirers of the work of the Hebrew University. The remainder of their families did not survive the horrors of the Holocaust. This tragedy profoundly affected their lives and was a driving force in the direction of their philanthropy. Major beneficiaries in Israel include the United Israel Appeal, Yad Vashem, Aliyah, Association for Blind and Visually Impaired Children, and of course the Hebrew University, where scholarships for graduate students will be awarded in their memory. I now invite Robert Denson to join President Menachem ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of the Denson family of New Jersey. The Denson family have been supportive of the Hebrew University for more than 40 years. The family's involvement with the university dates back to Paul and Sarah's 1973 trip to Israel, when they visited the Cancer Research Center on the En Karen campus. The center was endowed by their friend Frank Lautenberg, later to be elected U.S. Senator from New Jersey. Impressed and encouraged by the quality and importance of the laboratory's research, the Lautenberg Center for Immunology and Cancer Research became the focus of Paul's life. He served for 25 years as the founding chairman of its endowment committee until passing in 1999. Paul Denson was a tireless and enthusiastic advocate for the Lautenberg Center. This support was born from his deeply felt commitment to the Jewish people and to the conviction that each person has both an opportunity and obligation to help repair the world. His contributions to the Lautenberg Center were transformative and inspirational. In addition to their substantial personal philanthropy, the Densons endowed both the Paul and Sarah Jane Denson Scholarship and the Max and Bertha Denson Fellowship. Paul and Sarah Denson led a robust fundraising effort for the center that raised $20 million for research. Paul was an associate governor of the Hebrew University's International Board of Governors, which paid him tribute by conferring him an honorary fellowship. Paul served as vice president for the American Friends of the Hebrew University, and he was honored with AFHU's Scopus Award and the Torch of Learning. The Denson sons, Rob and Mark, have continued their parents' tradition. Rob served for 10 years on the board of AFHU. In addition, his family established the Lautenberg Center's annual James Siversten Prize in Pediatric Cancer Research. Rob currently serves on the board and executive committee of the Israel Cancer Research Fund, and with his daughter Ariel, co-founder leaders of the Lung Cancer Free World, a major lung cancer awareness campaign. I now invite Louis Kirschman to join President Menachem ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of Louis Kirschman and family in loving memory of Dr. Sherwin Kirschman, Texas. Sherwin Kirschman, Zichrono Livracha, was known for his quiet and generous nature, sharp wit, and ever-expanding intellect. He was born in St. Louis, Missouri, where his family has been since 1888. He studied at Washington University in St. Louis, where he received his BA and DDS degrees. In 1962, he made his first trip to Israel, volunteering to pick bananas at Kibbutz Amiyad in the Upper Galilee. Dr. Kirschman opened his oral surgery practice in Houston in 1971. He was a highly skilled surgeon, but it was his warmth, compassion, and personal charm that drew patients to him. He had a great love of his profession, as his patients, staff, and colleagues returned the love. His greatest love was his family. He met Louise when they were in high school in University City, Missouri. They married in college and enjoyed 51 years together. Israel had a special place in their heart, which is why they chose to have a second home in Netanya by the Mediterranean Sea. Sherman Kirschman died in August 27, 2014 in Caesarea, Israel. His family chose as his final resting place Kibbutz Kiryat Anavim outside of Jerusalem. Louise Kirschman was born in New Jersey and was raised in Alton, Illinois. She is a generous and warm, but not a particular quiet person. That's what's written here. She began her study. She began her studies at Washington University in St. Louis and attended the University of Houston, where she received a BA in accounting at the age of 49, graduating summa cum laude. Lewis put her accounting skills to good use as a treasurer of the Houston chapter of the National Council for Jewish Women, an organization that embodies many of the ideas that she believes in: social justice, improving the quality of life for women, children, and families, and ensuring individual rights and freedoms. Lewis volunteered at the Evelyn Rubinstein Jewish Community Center Jewish Book Fair in Houston for more than 20 years. She has been studying for 15 years with the Florence Melton School of Adult Jewish Learning, a project of the Hebrew University. Sherman and Lewis's family includes Francine and Reuven Chazan, Becky Kirschman and Kim Hartley, and 3 grandsons, Yonah, Shai, and Jake. I now invite Susan Lowy to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the names of Susan Masri Lowy and Norman Zichrono Livracha Lowy and his family, New York. Susan Masri Lowy is a second-generation supporter of the American Friends of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Her father, the late Salah Masri, served on the Northeast Region Board and was honored on the university's Wall of Life. He generally provided for Hebrew University students' well-being through an endowment for scholarship for disadvantaged students of Iraqi descent and support of the Pre-Academic Center, among other vital programs. Susan honored her father's memory through continued support of these initiatives. A member of AFHU's National and Region Board, Susan fosters the research of Professor Shlomo Magdassi, the Enrique Berman Professor of Solar Energy at Hebrew University's Institute of Chemistry. Susan and Professor Magdassi, who is also of Iraqi descent, have shared a strong connection since being introduced at previous board governors' meetings. It was then that they learned that the scholarship provided by Susan's father had enabled Professor Magdassi to attend the Hebrew University as an undergraduate. During this year's Board of Governors, Susan looked forward to meeting with current scholarship recipients, the bright and dedicated young scholars who inspire her continued commitment. Susan is proud of her Iraqi Jewish heritage and enjoys giving presentations about its history, culture, and contributions to Judaism. She has 4 children with a husband, the late Norman S. Lowy. I now invite Monet Malevsky to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription of the Wall of Life in her name. Born in Europe and raised in Canada, Monet Malevsky has had a close and long-term involvement with the Hebrew University. In addition to being an active associate governor of the International Board, Monet served as the Montreal chapter president for 5 years and is presently a committed member of the National Board of the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University. Monet has been a role model and active community leader for the past 31 years in both Jewish and broader community of Montreal. She has served on the board of numerous organizations, including Mount Sinai Hospital, the International Women's Forum, the Jewish Community Foundation, and many more. She is recognized for the vast time and energy she devotes to the community, especially for the advancement of women and causes of cultural diversity. Monet was recognized in 2000 2005 as a woman of distinction in the business and professional sector by the Women's Y of Montreal for her commitment to improve the economic and social role of women. In November 2013, she was honored by the Israel Cancer Research Fund at their Women of Action event. Monette began her professional life as a teacher and displayed her business and leadership skills in a number of activities. Today, Monette is a well-known businesswoman. After her husband's death in 1998, Monette assumed the presidency of the M. Bakal Group, their family insurance business. She is a wonderful role model for increasing numbers of women who are choosing careers in Quebec's insurance industry. We now have our first music interlude. I would like to invite Idan Toledano, Noah Ayali, and Noah Vax to play Things I Wanted to Say, lyrics by Yaakov Rotblit, music by Yehuda Poliker. Please. Thank you very much, Idan, Noah, and Noah for that beautiful rendition. We will have the pleasure of hearing them again. I would now like to invite the representative of the German Friends of the Hebrew University, to join President Menachem ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of Naomi Mein, Zichrona Livracha of Germany. Naomi Meine was born in Haifa in 1946. Her family moved to Berlin in 1958 due to her father's profession as a banker. 2 years later, Naomi returned to Israel alone to attend the school in the Hadassim Youth Village and to experience Israel up close. In 1964, Naomi returned to her family in Berlin, where she became a kindergarten teacher and later a social worker. She combined all of these professions and experiences by working in the Adoption Center from 1979 to 1983. In 1981, she met her husband, a Jungian psychoanalyst, and she was very interested in his professional approach to the subconscious. In 1984, she became a clinical psychologist in a psychiatric clinic and studied psychoanalysis in a private institute until 1992. For the following years, Naomi privately practiced as a psychoanalyst. Naomi's uncle, Mr. Benjamin Navon, was at the time Israel's ambassador to Germany. He was connected to the Friends of the Hebrew University and encouraged Naomi to be in contact with the organization. It was in this context that Naomi and her husband first conceptualized leaving a portion of their property to the benefit of the university, in particular the Psychological Institute for Clinical Research. In 1995, Naomi became ill due to brain cancer, and after 2 years of suffering, she passed away on December 27, 1997. Naomi was a very kind, cheerful, and social individual. Unfortunately, she was unable to bear her own children, but her love of humankind bridged this gap not only to her dearest acquaintances and friends, but also to her husband and his 2 children from his first marriage. I now invite Richard Parasol, the father of Ruth Parasol, to join President Menachem ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of the Parasol Foundation Trust, Gibraltar. On behalf of, excellent. Okay. Ruth Parasol was born in California and raised in Mill Valley. She was raised by her mother Guna, originally from Sweden, and her father Rick, a Jewish orphan from Poland, who survived the Holocaust as a hidden child and immigrated first to Israel in 1947 and then to California in 1964. Ruth founded Party Gaming PLC, the parent company of the online poker site partypoker.com, which since 2005 has been quoted on the London Stock Exchange. Since her company's initial public offering, Ruth has been primarily focused on her private offices in Gibraltar and on her young children at home. She is the principal benefactor of the Parasol Foundation Trust, where she devotes much of her time and effort as an international advisor, guiding its philanthropic objectives and execution. The Trust is dedicated to supporting both communal-based and cross-border charitable projects in the areas of health and medical research, education, community services, culture, heritage, entrepreneurship, and disaster relief program. Since its establishment in 2004, the Trust has supported charitable projects in Gibraltar, the United Kingdom, Israel, Poland, Haiti, Spain, the United States, and India. Ruth finds it's very difficult to decide which causes to support in order to make responsible grants that have a lasting beneficial impact. In philanthropy, as in business, she enjoys thinking through the various options in order to achieve optimal results and success. In Ruth Parasol's words, whether they are young scholars, seasoned scientists, or the next generation of inventors and entrepreneurs who benefit from our support, I expect them to leverage the skills they acquire and have a large impact on their surrounding communities. I now invite Dr. Jack Barr, Director of DRA, the representative of Roche Pharmaceuticals Israel, to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of Roche Pharmaceuticals Israel. The Roche Group was established as a family business in 1896 in Basel, Switzerland, and developed into one of the leading groups in R&D. Roche is a leader in research-focused healthcare and combined strengths in pharmaceuticals and diagnostics. Roche is the world's largest biotech company with truly differentiated medicines in oncology, immunology, infectious diseases, ophthalmology, and neuroscience. Roche's personalized healthcare strategy aims to provide medicines and diagnostics that enable tangible improvements in the health, quality of life, and survival of patients. Roche is active in Israel since 1948, and in 1999 an independent affiliate was established. Today, there are over 120 employees working in the fields of clinical research, sales and marketing, and regulation. Roche's vision as a leading healthcare company is to develop, produce, and market innovative high-end solutions to medical conditions. The company's products and services assist in prevention, diagnosis, and treatments of disease, and thus support of health and quality of people. I would now like to invite Mr. and Mrs. Alan Harper to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in loving memory of Anita in Isle Rudberg, Canada. Anita Rudberg was born in August 1910, the year Halley's Comet. She said that she witnessed the comet twice, the second time in 1986. Born to a family of 3 children in the Romanian coastal city of Constanța, her father Solomon Seni was Sephardic and spoke 9 languages. Her mother was Matilda Foxner, an Ashkenazi from Isni, Romania. Anita Rudberg started school at 8 years old at the end of World War I. There were already stirrings of anti-Semitism in Romania. However, she recounted one story with a certain sense of humor. Her teacher once requested that all Jews in the class stand up to identify themselves, but Anita did not do so. The teacher knew very well that Anita was Jewish and asked why she did not stand up, to which little Anita replied, "I'm not Jewish, I'm an Israelite." From the age of 12, Anita loved playing tennis and by her own account was one of the top female players in Romania. After finishing school, Anita studied at the College of Law and the Commercial Academy in Bucharest, and she became one of the few women in the legal profession in Romania at the time. However, she soon married her first husband, Ionel Senevileci, and began to work at his petroleum company. Because of the war and the Iron Guard's strong presence in Romania, they fled the country in 1940. After a long journey via Basra, Bombay, and Ellis Island, New York, they eventually settled in Mexico in 1941. The marriage did not last in Mexico. Anita and Ionel Senevici separated and she traveled to Cuba, New York, and on to Paris. In 1947, Anita met her second husband, Arnold Rudberg, another Romanian refugee. They lived together in Montreal, Canada, where Anita volunteered for the Red Cross, and her Arnold Rudberg created a successful real estate business. Where Arnold Rudberg passed away in 1965, Anita moved to Paris, where she stayed until her own passing in 2002. Rather than to be buried, it was Anita Rudberg's wish to donate her body to science, to the medical school in Paris. There has been no final resting place. That is why the Wall of Life has much significance. Anita loved Israel and had supported the Hebrew University during her lifetime. For generations to come, this Wall of Life will be and must remain a spiritual resting place, a place of exceptional beauty and peace. I now invite Bernard Schuster to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of Bernie Schuster and family, in memory of Avrum Schuster and family, Canada. An associate governor of the Hebrew University and key leader of the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University, Bernard Schuster is a passionate advocate of the university. Montreal-born Bernard Schuster is a pharmacist who started his business career as the owner of several pharmacies. He then managed Miracle Mart, a major chain of discount stores, and served as a principal in a cosmetics distribution company. He earned his degree in pharmacy from the University of Montreal and in later years completed a degree in Jewish studies at McGill University. He is a leading and respected member of the Montreal Jewish community. He is a past president of Congregation Zichron Kedoshim and is actively involved in Chabad. Bernie Schuster joined the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University over 40 years ago. As a new and young member of the Friends Board in the 1970s, he was instrumental in launching the first young leadership group in Montreal. He went on to serve as the Montreal chapter president and remains a committed member of the Montreal and national boards, in particular his longtime role as national vice president of the Canadian Friends. Bernard Schuster is likewise an active member of the Hebrew University Board of Governors and has served on its executive, finance, and endowment committees. Throughout his years of involvement, Bernard Schuster has extended his generosity to the Hebrew University, where he supports scholarships and major projects, has astutely identified new sources of support, and has served as a persuasive ambassador on the university's behalf. He is an outstanding role model of philanthropy whose quiet and diligent advocacy has garnered significant support from new donors and has inspired others to become leaders of the university's Canadian Friends. I now invite Kathleen Solvay to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in her name. American friend Kathleen Hart Solvay is a driving force in AFHU Midwest region. She has maintained a lifelong devotion to Israel and the global Jewish community. Dedicated to foster higher education, Kathleen and her late husband, Gerald S. Solvay, have provided scholarship support for students at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem Faculty of Law. Kathleen Hart Solvay was the youngest female vice president of a prominent commercial real estate corporation for 10 years, specializing in hotels, office building, and real estate centers. A champion of the Hebrew University who cares deeply about AFHU, Kathleen serves on the National Board of Regents. In 2014, she served as co-chair of the Midwest Region Gerald S. Solvay Torch Learning Award Dinner, at which she presented the prestigious honor to attorney-author Scott Turow. She also proudly accepted the Judah L. Magnus Award in Jerry's memory. The Kathleen Hart Solvay Endowment Fund in Law, established in tribute to Jerry, is helping Israel's next generation of legal professionals achieve their academic dreams. Gerald Solvay was among the preeminent appellate and trial lawyers in the country, whose achievement in pro bono work and public service were exemplary. The esteemed AFHU leader served on the National Board of Regents and on the Midwest Region's Regional Presidency Advisory Committee. In December 2008, he received AFHU's National Scopus Award. Jerry also served on the board of the university's Harry S. Truman Research Institute for the Advancements of Peace. Kathleen and Jerry are the proud parents of 4 children, Kelly, Scott, Stephen, and Jonathan, 8 grandchildren. Kathleen is thrilled to have her daughter Kelly join her at the Wall of Life ceremony. I now invite Sylvia and Louis Vogel to join the president by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the wall of life in their names. Sylvia and Lou Vogel are a dynamic and successful couple who together and individually have impacted the business and organizational environment of their home city of Montreal. With an innovative product line, the Lou and Sylvia founded TransCanaderm in 1957, the largest independent Canadian dermatological company. A second company, Canaderm Pharma, was established in 1972. In 1975, Lou founded the Canadian Dermatology Association Bulletin, which in 1985 became the CDA Journal, and it evolved into a prestigious peer-reviewed journal which Lou continued to publish until his retirement in 2013. Lou was the first recipient of the CDA Distinguished Service Award for his visionary and financial contributions. In 2003, was the first recipient of the CDA Award of Honor bestowed on a person outside the medical profession for outstanding contribution to the field of dermatology. Sylvia's flair and drive for innovation that propelled the Canaderm Pharma Inc. to success has also been her trademark in her extremely successful volunteer roles. Sylvia is a long-standing and active member of the Montreal chapter board of the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University and an associate governor of the International Board of Governors. Sylvia's business acumen and leadership skills earned her many awards, including an award of distinction from the Concordia University for outstanding contribution to the world of business, and the community at the Canadian Woman Entrepreneur of the Year Award in the Lifetime Achievement category. Between 2004 and 2006, Sylvia was listed in the top 100 list of Canada's most powerful women, and in 2007 was inducted into the Women's Executive Network Hall of Fame in recognition of her outstanding career. Lou and Sylvia are the proud parents of 2 children, 11 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. Together, Sylvia and Lou have supported a variety of projects at the Hebrew University. I now invite Annika, Charlotte, Joel, and Richard Weiner to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of Hans Weiner Foundation, Sweden. In 1948, after losing the Second World War, when Germany was in ruins, a new democratic government conceded to assume responsibility for the crimes committed by their predecessors. One outcome was payments given to surviving victims of Nazi crimes. Despite the fact that Hans Weiner was eligible for such a payment, he couldn't bring himself to apply for it. However, he did receive one restitution payment of 5,000 West German marks for the loss of his parents and a second payment for the loss of his education. Since he considered the payment to be an irrelevant apology and incapable to compensate even the smallest fraction of his loss, he set the money aside with the intention of creating a fund for future family use. The Hans Weiner Foundation was established in 1991 to commemorate Kate and Franz Weiner, who were deported and murdered in the Nazi death camp Auschwitz in 1942. Hans and his 3-year-old sister were sent to Sweden on the Kindertransport in April 1939. They were sent to different families in different parts of Sweden, and both never saw their parents again. Their older brother Gunther left for Palestine. Eventually, his sister made Aliyah in 1960, but Hans stayed and built his life and business in Stockholm, Sweden. Hans has been a supporter of various projects in Israel since the 1960s, and for the past 15 years of the Hebrew University in particular. For Hans, This university is an icon for academic education and for the possibility to create and stand up for humanistic values, principle which in his eyes must always be supported. I now invite Dr. Ilya Luria, Executive Director of the Jewish Galicia and Bukovina Association, to join President Menachem Ben Sasson by the lectern for the dedication of the inscription on the Wall of Life in the name of Naomi and David Wallach, in the name of the Jewish Galicia and Bukovina Organization, Israel. Jewish Galicia and Bukovina is a non-profit organization dedicated to the documentation, preservation, and educational dissemination of the history and rich cultural heritage of the Jewish communities of Galicia and Bukovina. Galicia and Bukovina were major Jewish centers as far back as the 13th century and were home to over 1 million Jews with unique cultural characteristics and a vibrant intellectual and spiritual life. The thriving Jewish world almost disappeared in the Holocaust. The outstanding cultural accomplishments of these regions are not widely known in the Jewish world. They have been insufficiently documented and inadequately researched by academic scholars. The association offers fellowships to doctoral and postdoctoral students for both Israel and the Ukraine, including students from the Hebrew University, for research projects connected to the Jewish history in this region. The organization is committed to seeing that the rich Jewish culture that once flourished in the region will be remembered and passed on to future generations in Israel and throughout the world. I now welcome back Idan Toledano, Noah Yali, Noah Vox to play From the Depths, composed by Idan Reichel. Please. Thank you again, Idan Toledano, Noah Ayali, and Noah Vax. What a beautiful rendition. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wall of Life ceremony is now concluded, but following tradition, I would like to ask all the honorees to arrive to receive our collective appreciation and thanks for the friendship and generosity to the Hebrew University. All